Welcome to the podcast. I am a divine healer, and I help people to heal and stay healed by understanding why they got sick in the first place, or understanding what was the cause of their unhappiness. We discover these things because all the work that we do together is at a soul level. Today we are talking about consciousness, and in particular we're going to start with viruses. So I'm going to read to you from the Christ Letters. If you have not heard of the Christ Letters and you are interested and want to hear more, you can listen for free on YouTube. There's 9 letters. It was through studying these letters that I came to the enlightenments that I've had and am speaking to you here today. You can also download these for free online. So we're going to be talking about consciousness and viruses. So if you do happen to have the book, I'm on page 143. You must understand that human beings have created their own viruses. Every virus is a destructive living consciousness impulse made visible. It targets what the impulse of destructive consciousness targeted at the moment the virus took on form. I was very clear about this aspect of existence when I was on earth in the persona of Jesus. The Jews had a rigid tradition of washing cups before drinking from them. I told them explicitly that they should not be worried about what went into their mouths. They should be concerned about what came out of their minds and hearts, then out through their mouths. At that time, science had not yet discovered the presence of viruses, but it was agreed that diseases came from eating and drinking from dirty utensils. But I knew that the disease had originally come out of the minds and hearts of the savagely angry people. Thereafter, it was propagated by the division of the cells, but carried within itself forever the instinct and consciousness which initially brought it into being. AIDS has been no accident. It has emerged from the consciousness forces of self-indulgence and destructive emotional reactions between sexual partners. Submerged hatred and anger can drive people into a sexual act, leaving a residue of sickness behind it in the mind, emotions, and body. Because emotional attunement has not always been motivated, the sexual act between men and women, they have known severe disappointment and lack of release and fulfillment. When this happens, the male sexual energy dwindles, and it has to be rekindled by images of sexual perversions. As a result, pornography has become big business in some countries. It panders to the body instincts alone. Out of pornography have come the lack of respect for women and a mechanical, non-emotional sexual act, together with rapidly increasing rape and sexual child abuse. People giving way to these abominable acts of depravity, cruelty, will surely reap the consequences either in this life or in a future incarnation. Therefore, when the followers of Islam condemn the West for their lax sexual behavior and perversion, they are right to believe that it is bringing down unhealthy conditions on earth. These unhealthy conditions are not sent by Allah, but are a natural consequence of their breaking the laws of existence. Similarly, the followers of Islam are breaking the laws of existence because they, like the Jews, hold on to the tradition of an eye for an eye and believe that there is such thing as a holy war. There is no such thing as a holy war. There is only the reality of holy forgiveness and holy reconciliation, treating your brother, be he your enemy or friend, with love and understanding. None of you may break the laws of existence and hope that you may enter into the kingdom of heaven or paradise. Your behavior has no place beyond the mayhem you are presently bringing on yourselves. As many of you are aware, you are entering a new phase of world history, during the course of which it will be realized that no longer is the great divide between the wealthy and the poor. The great divide will be in consciousness. The divide will be between those who have been able to find entrance into the higher spiritual consciousness and radiate love and acceptance equally to all, friends and foes, and who make it their goal to radiate divine consciousness into every facet of their daily lives. And those who remain encased within their ego drives, seeking domination of the weak, they may appear to succeed for a while, but eventually they will fail, and their suffering in their self-created darkness will be great. As you seek to raise your frequencies of spiritual consciousness through radiating love to all unconditionally, so will you be going through a slow ascension in consciousness, which will dynamically affect your physical health and your earthly conditions. As we've spoke about in the past, it truly is your consciousness that dictates all that is there. I'm going to enlighten you here today with physical healing in regards to consciousness and how I help people to heal their bodies, because all diseases come from the mind. I'm going to give you another example here. Let's say that you're very hungry and you think, ooh, I need to get some food. And maybe that's all that you can think about. But then something comes up, maybe you get a phone call, and you get completely distracted away from your hunger. It is then at this moment that you can realize that your hunger was not in fact coming from your body, but it was in fact coming from your mind. You can understand how the mind and the body work simultaneously, and they work together. Your mind needs to tell you, hey dude, it's time to eat. But sometimes our mind will run away with itself and will get on some kind of tangent about this or that, or become addicted to this type or that type of thing. All of these addictions that come, including food or drugs or alcohol or any of those things, all come from the mind. People will say, no, my body is addicted. But in fact, it is not. It is the mind, always, always. This is why when someone goes into a subconscious state, let's say that they came to work with me for some kind of addiction, we treat that addiction in the mind, not the body. But because the mind controls the body, then it seemingly appears as though the body loses its craving for whatever it happens to be, but it was never the body, it was always the mind. Let me give you an example of this so you can understand it even deeper. Many people know that you can use hypnosis to quit smoking, but perhaps they don't understand why. Some people think that hypnosis is mind control, that someone is, controlling your mind and telling you this and telling you that, and this could or can be the case in some situations. But you cannot make anybody do anything that they do not agree with or that they do not want for themselves, because they will resist at the time that you are speaking it to them, and because they can resist during that state, then the outcome will be whatever it is that they want. So if I was working with someone for a craving, whether it be food or cigarettes or anything like this, it all begins with a feeling. You might know this. Let's say that there's something that you've been wanting to quit for a while, that you're like, oh, I just got this, one last thing, if I could just kick this thing. Maybe you're addicted to alcohol. I'll just use that as the example. When there's an addiction that is present, there is always a reason why it is there. But we're not going to go into that completely here right now. What we're going to do is I'm going to tell you the process. What I would do if you were my client is I would get you into a subconscious state. So this is the state of the soul. Because when you are in this state, you no longer have conscious resistance. So we would get you into this state, and then I would have you bring up that feeling, because it's always a feeling, right? You get this feeling of, ooh, I feel like I need a drink, right? And that feeling is really present, and it's actually present. You physically can feel it in your body. Now, this is not your body telling you that you need to have this. It is the mind that manifests in the physical body, the energy of the mind manifesting in your physical body. But we follow this feeling that is there. So let's say you have this need, right? It's pulling you and it's saying, just have a drink, just have a drink, just have a drink. You need it. And that feeling doesn't let up or shut up until you give it what it wants. And as soon as you have that first little sip, it goes away. Why does it immediately go away? It has nothing to do with your body. It has everything to do with your mind. You have now agreed with and satisfied your mind. Your mind knows that, hey, they're going to finish this drink. I know that for certain. And so it is quiet because it got its way. This is like having a fight with someone, and as soon as you're like, okay, fine, you're right, the fight's over. You know what I'm saying? So, we follow this feeling that is present there, and we deal with what comes up in the mind. Now, you might not know where your addiction or where your whatever comes from, as most people don't. Most people, they'll have an idea. They'll think, it's probably from, this thing that happened, back then or whenever or whatever. But very often they're wrong. Because consciously our mind believes different things than it subconsciously does. Not in all regards. Sometimes it agrees. But very often it believes things a little bit differently. And so we follow this feeling while we are in this subconscious state, and because your subconscious mind knows absolutely every single thing about you from this life, previous lives, and all that there is to know, as long as you get someone in a deep enough state that they truly are out of their conscious mind, you know everything. We follow this feeling and there will be something there. There will be a reason, because you were not born addicted to alcohol. It came later at some point when the mind introduced it. And it does not just necessarily come from repetitive things. No. I have never once regressed someone back, never one time, and had someone say, oh, it's genetic. They might go back and say, oh, well, my parents, told me that it's genetic. And at that moment, when the parents told them, hey, this is genetic, they believed it. And because they believed it, they then manifested it in their life. They then created it through their belief that someday this is going to be me. But at some point, something will have been said, something will have been done, you will have felt a certain way, and it will have started the addiction. Now, why does this addiction come? Because you are covering up unknowingly. You're not intentionally doing this. I'm not blaming anybody for anything, but you are covering up the emotional pain and hurt with that addiction. Right? As soon as we get this uncomfortable feeling, well, what's going to take this uncomfortable feeling away? Oh, well, the alcohol works. Oh, well, the food works. Oh, well, if I go and smoke the cigarette, it works. Oh, if I have these drugs, it works. It is taking away that uncomfortable feeling, and that uncomfortable feeling is some sort of pain or hurt from the past. And so when we follow that uncomfortable feeling, that pain or that hurt will come up in the session, and we deal with it in the mind. And as we heal it, and as we truly deal with it, then the craving for that thing goes away. Then it comes 4:30 and you're normally going for that drink or you're going for whatever, and that feeling's not there. You don't care. You don't want it. You'd rather go do something else. Now, as we began here, and we were talking about viruses, all viruses come from the mind. This is the point, is that every single thing that you experience in your life comes from the mind. Now, the more that you think about this, the more it will become very clear to you that yes, well, obviously, that is true. If I can distract myself away from this or distract myself away from that, what have I done? I have kept my mind busy with something else, not tuned into that thing that I would normally do, and therefore, it must be my mind that is creating this. So some people will keep themselves so very busy with different activities. They say, I do not like to sit. I can't just sit around. My mind goes too crazy. Well, if this is the case for you, then there is some type of emotional trauma from your past that needs to be dealt with inside of you. Because you are keeping yourself busy, and that busyness can be an addiction, just like food, just like drugs, just like alcohol, just like cigarettes, just like any other sex, any other addiction that you could possibly come to. What you are doing is seeking relief. But beyond that, it is not just a feeling of relief. What it is that you are seeking, what it is that your soul is seeking, is connection with the divine. Now here's my example. So you are, let's say, you want food. Okay, so you're like, ooh, I just want to eat that thing. Ooh, and as soon as you got it, and as soon as you put it in your mouth, what feeling do you have? It's a good, uplifted feeling, just the same as that first drag of that cigarette or the first sip of that alcohol. It's a good feeling, right? What it is that you are seeking is connection with the divine, and you intuitively know that it is a very uplifted, wonderful, beautiful feeling of relief that comes if you were to connect with the divine. But because perhaps there's too much between you and the divine, because you are not living in that perfect space of love, you are still seeking it. But in fact, you don't even know that that is what you are seeking. And so you get that thing that you are looking for through something else, like the food or the cigarettes or the alcohol or whatever it happens to be. But you will never find any kind of lasting fulfillment through that. And you know that this is true because if that was not true, well, you would only need to smoke that one cigarette and you'd be satisfied forever. You'd only need to eat that thing one time and you'd be satisfied forever. But you know that it is but temporary, because as soon as you stop smoking it and as soon as you stop eating it, that old feeling returns, and sometimes is replaced by a feeling of guilt, is replaced by a lowly feeling, because your soul is screaming out to you, this isn't the thing. It's not the thing. You're never going to find it in this thing. And you already know that. So if you happen to have something, and I had something for years, for such a long time, that was like, oh man, if I could just get over this one thing, I'd be totally free. Okay, and then you get over that thing and you're like, okay, well, if I could just get over this one thing, then I'd be totally free. And you know how many times people have told me, well, I gotta have something. I have an addictive personality. No, you do not. Nobody does. It may have played out in this way in your life, but what you have is hurt from something that happened in the past. And maybe you believe that you have an addictive personality because that thing happened to you at such a very young age. The belief came in at such a very young age that you don't even remember what it was like. But you know what? You were not addicted and did not have an addictive personality when you were born. You didn't have it when you were 2 years old. You didn't have it when you were 3 years old. It's not you. It feels like you because you don't remember what it's like to not have it. But let me tell you this, it is not you. And you can safely let go of every single vice that you have. And as you do, you will be lighter and lighter bodied. It will completely change the way that you feel. Because any of those addictions and any of those things that you have within you are heavy, dense energies, and they actually feel like heaviness. This is why, and I've recently discovered this, this is why for years and years and years and years and years and years, people will tell me after their session, and it is almost everybody that says this, maybe 90% of people. As soon as they're finished, they'll say, whoa, oh, I just feel so much lighter. Yeah, like I feel like an actual weight has been lifted off me. People tell me this all the time. I'm telling you, 90% of the time, and I'm not telling them, don't you feel this? Don't you feel that? No, they are telling me this. Now I'm understanding why. Because those heavy energies that we released in that session are no longer in them, and they are actually heavy energies. They're actually denser, heavy energies. And so when we get rid of them, you are then more light-bodied. So you actually do feel lighter. You actually can breathe in deeper because the heaviness is no longer pressing all around you. You have then freed yourself and you have more light inside of your body. Now, what a beautiful thing that this is, because you can then know without a doubt that when you let these things go, you are creating more light within yourself. Therefore, you are going to start attracting different things to yourself, things that are lighter, that are on the same frequency as you, the same vibration as you. So, I say this to say this: if you have manifested some type of disease or some type of illness or some type of something in your body, it has all come from the mind, and therefore it can be healed with the mind as well. And there is no exceptions to this. It doesn't matter if you have cancer. It doesn't matter if you haven't been able to walk because you're so sore, because you got this, you got that. It does not matter. It does not matter. It has all manifested from the mind. Sure, maybe it'll take you a little tiny bit of time to adjust or to get brave enough to stand up out of your wheelchair that you've been sitting in for however long. But it has all come from the mind. Now, perhaps there would be exceptions if you were born with something in some way, because maybe this came here to teach you something and you wanted it to happen so that you could learn something here in this life. Just like I have had a few clients for physical healing that there was no underlying emotional cause that was there, that was present, but in fact the only reason that they had it was so that they could heal themselves. It was so that they could get closer to the divine. Because when you understand and when you see that the divine loves you so very much that there's nothing that the divine cannot do, that's going to bring you immediately closer to the divine, is it not? Now, here's the beautiful thing. The divine loves you so very much that the divine does not want you to suffer. The divine does not want you to crave anything other than the divine, which at a subconscious level, that really is what it is that you are craving. You are seeking to feel better. You are seeking to feel that connection that you are lacking in your life. And when you lack it, you are never going to feel satisfied no matter what it is that you are out there seeking. You could say, I want $72 million, and you could have that $72 million in your bank account, and it will bring you not one moment of satisfaction. You might think, oh good, well I achieved my goal, but you won't be any happier. You won't feel any more fulfilled. There will be nothing that can bring the fulfillment of the divine other than the divine. Nothing, not one thing. This is what we are all at a soul level seeking, is that connection. So, if you have some type of ailment, some type of something inside of your body, you can ask yourself, let's say you got something going on. You know you. And if you could get rid of that conscious mind right now, you could tune in and you could see what that thing is there about. But you can practice this little exercise here. You can close your eyes, you could count from 10 down to 1, and you could take some nice deep breaths and just tell yourself, relaxed, relaxed, relaxed. And just tell yourself that, I don't know, maybe 20 times. And as you do this, and as you take yourself down into that nice relaxed state, you then tune into that part of your body that is having the issue. And you can ask yourself, what are you trying to tell me? And then just wait. And whatever it is that pops into your mind, do not question it. Know that you are right. And if the answer is, I don't know, well, I'm telling you, my darlings, you do know. So take your best guess. Just take your best guess. And whatever it is that comes into your mind, that's the thing. That is the thing that needs to be dealt with and needs to be let go of. And this is in regards to addictions to food, to alcohol, to cigarettes, to drugs, to porn, to anything that is out there. You know why. I might have people in a session say, I'm not sure. But we always find what it is by following that feeling. Because that addiction that you have, you physically can feel it in certain places inside of your body. If you were to even think about it right now, what feeling do you have when you feel like, I need to have that drink, or I need to eat that food, or I need to have that, whatever it is? Notice the places inside of you that tense up and that tighten up. Because when you are tensed up and when you are tightened up, the Father's love is tensed up and tightened up, and it cannot flow to you. And all sorts of pain come from that. So when we follow that tension and that tightness, and it will always be that. Anytime that you want that thing, you're not going to have this nice, real soft feeling in your body. No, you're not. It's going to be a tense, tight, or tingly, uncomfortable feeling, because if it was a comfortable feeling, well, you wouldn't need to give in to that thing, but it's uncomfortable, and the only thing that takes it away is that thing. So you would follow that very uncomfortable feeling back to where that thing came from, back to where it very first began, and you would deal with it. And you might think, well, how can this alcohol addiction come from when I was 6 years old and my mom was yelling at me and telling me I was no good? I didn't start drinking when I was 6.5. You know what? You didn't. But you started to believe something about yourself. Maybe that you weren't good enough. Maybe that you wouldn't be loved. Maybe that you would be abandoned. I don't know what it happens to be, but you started to believe something. And that thing started to play out in your life because you believed it. And everything that you are witness to is the beliefs that you hold within yourself. And so because you believed that thing, and it began to manifest in your life and prove to you over and over and over and over and over and over that belief that you had, well, eventually you just kept adding to it, and you kept adding it to it, and you kept saying, see, whether you said it out loud or whether you just subconsciously believed it even more powerfully. Eventually it became so uncomfortable that you had that drink that first time, and you had temporary relief from it, and you thought, oh, this is the thing, I don't feel that way anymore. Right now I don't feel like a piece of crap, I feel like the most amazing person in the world. And so you got addicted to that feeling, because that feeling is the truthful feeling, because you are wonderful, because you are amazing. And you know this. And so because that thing shut that other voice off inside of your mind, you got addicted to that thing. But that thing is going to kill you eventually, because that's not the way. And the way is to let go of that thing and choose the real way, which is by healing what was there in the first place, and by getting in connection with the truth, which is that you are worthy, you are good enough, you are loved, you are accepted, you will never be abandoned, whatever it happens to be. And as soon as you shift that belief and you change that thing, all of a sudden you don't need that thing anymore, because that thing was trying to tell you what I'm trying to tell you. That you are amazing, that you are worthy, that you are good enough. And because it only temporarily did it, but then it lowered your frequency so much that you started feeling horrible again. You thought, oh, well, it brought me relief. And so you kept going back to that thing, kept going back to that thing. Now, the only thing that you need to keep going back to is the love of the divine. But if you haven't known it, if you haven't experienced it, then perhaps this all sounds like a bunch of crap to you, because you don't know how wonderful it is. But I'm telling you, I've been a drug addict, and it is better than anything you could possibly imagine. And it will illuminate you in such ways that you will immediately forgive people. You will see that there was never even anything to forgive. It will illuminate you in such ways that it will connect you with the love of all that is, and it will help you to understand, oh, this is the thing, this is the thing. I see now, I understand. And just because you have that illumination, and just because you get into that, does not mean that immediately your life is going to be free from these things. It was not for me. I still had to deal with things. I still had to let things go. I still had to heal from things. But it has then showed you the way, and it will make it so much easier and so much more satisfying. As you continue to heal yourself, you will be able to let those things go. You will want to let those things go. The divine will make it easier for you to let those things go. But these years of those addictions and of those temptations have been necessary. They have been a blessing and they have been a gift. And I want you to know this on a very deep level, that the decisions that you have made up until this point, they have been correct. All of them. Because you have learned many valuable lessons from them, have you not? You have learned what it is that you do not want, which is pushing you in the direction of, oh, I know that this is what I want. It has brought you many valuable things. Perhaps someone has treated you in a terrible, terrible way, and they have treated you so terribly that you think, I would never do that to someone else. What a valuable thing it is that you have learned. How you can truly treat people so absolutely beautifully and wonderfully, from either in the past treating people how you shouldn't have and learning, or being treated how you shouldn't have and learning. And if you begin to look at your life as every single thing that has happened is a blessing, then it will become a blessing for you. Everything that you are witness to in this life is consciousness. As I said, your hunger comes from consciousness. It comes from the mind. Your addictions come from consciousness. They come from the mind. Your diseases and your ailments come from consciousness. They all come from the mind. Therefore, the mind needs to be a clean and beautiful place if you want to live a clean and beautiful life. If you want to live a heavenly life, you need to have heavenly thoughts, and therefore you need to get rid of all those thoughts that are not heavenly. And this can take a lot of work. Trust me, darlings, I've been there. And it was a conscious effort that I would take. A conscious effort. I'm telling you, this doesn't just happen overnight. Just because you've had the enlightenment, sure, you can be in that state for however long, but you're a human and you'll come back to that human level, and then all of a sudden you're not in that uplifted state anymore, and you got to deal with all kinds of things. But what a blessing it is to experience that, and then to go back down and to realize, oh, I guess I got more cleaning house to do. I guess perhaps I really didn't forgive this person. I guess perhaps I was still resentful against this or that. Perhaps this thing really does still make me upset. And then you know what it is that you need to work on, and you can work on it, and you can actually let it go. But every single thing that has come into your life has been a blessing up until this point. And if you begin to see it that way, things will change for you, because everything comes from belief. I love you so much, my darlings. I'm so thankful that you guys have tuned in here today. Please like, share, subscribe. If you aren't already a member of this channel, I would love for you to be. This is a daily podcast. It's usually Monday to Friday, and I hope to get you bonus content on the weekend when I can, but I got a busy life, so sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But either way, I love you all so very much. Thank you for tuning in. Be blessed, and I will see you guys tomorrow.